Well, we've talked about this type of farming equipment before. It is just a flat deck sled. So you'd hook that long tongue up to a team of horses or ox, and you would use this to pull your crops or whatever through the winter. You could use it on the dirt, and it works on the dirt. Not as efficient, however, it would work. So this is an example of old original farm equipment. So what I'm going to show you right now are a couple of horse-drawn farm equipment items. It's a horse-drawn plow and a tool called a slip scoop. So the idea is this right here is a horse-drawn plow. So the front up here would be hooked up to a horse. This is the plow. You can see it has a point here. As you can see, it's designed so that the dirt comes up through here, gets pushed over, so it creates a row. As you can see, there's no motor, there's no easy way to drag this. So you hook it up to a horse, it gets dragged along the dirt. There would be handles here. The handles have rotten off. However, you have wooden handles here to kind of control how deep you want the plow to go and to keep it upright. This over here is what's called a slip scoop. So, as you can see, it slides along the ground. You hook it up to a horse, you have a horse in front of it, and you would have wooden handles that come up like this. It slides across the ground or slips across the ground. What you would do is, if you knew where there was a rock, or you knew where there was something you wanted to dig out of the ground, a horse is pulling it. As you pull up on the handles, it will dig down into the ground. And you can basically pull a rock out of the ground as big as this scoop. So you stick it down on the ground, it'll dig down into the ground because the horse is still pulling, and you can dig whatever you want out of the ground. When you wanted to unload it, you drive the horse to wherever you want it unloaded. As you're going, you flip it upside down. The horse keeps walking. So right now, it is upside down on the ground. So it would let go of whatever it's holding. It would slide across the ground. You get rid of whatever you had. You flip it back over, and you go back into the field to dig out the next item you wanted to dig out. As you can see by the lack of rubber, it is fairly old. This is an old steel-wheeled hay wagon. As you can see, it's not very tall, only comes up to about my belly button or so. However, it's kind of cool because you got these steel wheels. So as you can see, it's not that much traction. However, before you had rubber, this is what you had for wheels. So what I'm about to show you is an old non-motorized potato picker. So this is the machine right here. As you can see, it's got two wheels, and on the front it hooks up to a tractor. So the idea would be that these wheels right here, they have these paddles, so they dig into the ground. And so you drag this along the ground. Here you can't really see it, but there's a blade up front. So that would dig into the ground and scoop the potatoes. You'd drive this to a potato field. So you'd scoop the potatoes and they'd come up onto this conveyor belt. This conveyor belt here is just made out of bars. So dirt and whatnot can fall through here. And so it shakes it loose, shakes the dirt, shakes the potato. So it's just the potatoes that are bigger than this are picked. And they're plopped out onto the ground behind the machine where they're easily picked up. So this is a non-motorized vehicle or machine used to pick potatoes, where it made it a lot easier than having to dig the potatoes up by hand. One of the things farmers use to help their productivity is that they use fertilizer. The original fertilizer is manure. This right here is a manure spreader. So you can see the short hitch on the front is designed to hook up to a tractor. If it was designed to hook up to a horse, that hitch would be longer and there would be another set of wheels on the front. This is powered by itself. These wheels dig into the ground, they spin, and they actually engage. There's no motor needed for this. The wheels spin, there's levers on the front, engage the mechanism on it. So we'd use these levers on the front to engage this bottom part here, which is a walking floor, which means that you engage that, and that's going to move the manure back towards the spinning arms, or those nasty looking little, so those things would just spin. So the idea is, you're the manure. Those bars on the ground in front of you move you towards me. The bottom pulling you towards here. These arms are spinning. It's moving you back. As the manure hits these arms, it's getting thrown off the back of the trailer. It's not very efficient. It wouldn't have been smooth. It wouldn't have been a 100% level spreading. There'd be piles here. There'd be missing piles elsewhere. However, you're getting rid of the manure out of your barn, and you're putting it on your field, so hopefully you're putting more nutrients back into your ground. So this is an example of a non-motorized manure spreader that could have been hooked up to a horse very easily. This piece of equipment is called a quack hog. So the idea is that you drag this behind a tractor. These hooks here drag along the ground. After you plow the field or whatever, you drag this behind. It goes into the soft dirt and it scrapes along the ground like a rake. If it catches anything, it pops up. Instead of breaking the machine, this pops up. The advantage of that, as you're driving, if this pops up and it's hooked on something, that rock or that stick or whatever it got hooked on is pulled out of the ground. So because it springs up, your machine doesn't break, and it automatically pulls whatever hooked your machine out of the ground so you can pull it out. So you go over a field a couple times with this, and all the things you don't want in your farm field are pulled out, or they allow you to see where it is. So you can use the slip scoop, or you can, if you have to use something else, you can use that to pull it out. So this is once again, you just pull this behind a tractor. It pretty much just drags along dirt, and when it catches something, it'll pull it out. So pretty useful. Helps farmers clear their fields so they can plant their crops. So this is a Heston hay stacker. This big orange thing here. This basically sucks up hay. We use it today as a leaf collector, but this big part right here is actually a vacuum. So this basically, you drag it along the ground, you connect it up to the tractor, drag it along the ground, and it sucks up the hay, sticks it in. This has a moving floor like that manure spreader I showed you. So it basically compacts it, makes a big block of hay, and then you dump it out later. The moving floor can reverse, so you can unload your hay as well. So that whole thing right there is a hay stacker. More modern piece of farm equipment right here. I mean, it's not exactly a spring chicken, but this right here, this trailer, is a cattle or a livestock feeder. What you do is you put a mix of what you want into this trailer. So you put corn, you put another kind of grain, you put some minerals that you want, and what we'll actually do is, you see those gears in there. You hook this up to your tractor, and I'll show you the inside in a little bit, but you hook it up to the PTO, which is basically the engine of the tractor, and it will spin it all, mix it all up, and there's actually scales attached to this. So you can measure how much food you're putting out for your cattle. So this is the inside of the cattle feeder. It hasn't been used for a while, so there's a little tree in here. However, if you look, there's those corkscrews. So what you'd do is you would put your corn, you'd put all your food in here, and this would mix it all up. So it would mix it all up, and then you're giving your cattle a mixture. It's not just, you're not giving them one thing, you're giving them a mixture of whatever you want them to eat. So this is a more modern style of farm equipment than what I have been showing you. So this is an old Ford tractor. This is a Ford 9N. This tractor, as you can see, has narrow front. Wheels are narrow so it didn't crush as many crops as it went through the ground or over the ground. This is the tractor I told you about at the beginning of class. This is the tractor that I drove into the lake. This is the tractor that basically I've done a lot of damage to this tractor. As you can see, it's not really pretty right now. That's partially my fault. It's a nice little tractor, however, I've beaten it up a little bit. So this would have been about 1940s, 1950s tractor. This is that tractor I put in the lake again. As you can see, it's not a huge tractor. You know, the tire only comes up to about my chest right here. So right now it's hooked up to a road brusher. So we use this to clean up dirt off of the campground roads. As you can see, it's pretty small, but it's kind of rough. So it's not a huge tractor. Only has about 35 horsepower in this tractor right here, which doesn't seem like a lot, but I mean, it gets enough done. Because think about it, these people were working with 1 horse, 2 horses. Now you have 35 horses in theory. So what I'm about to show you is a John Deere B Orchard. So this is a John Deere B Orchard. As you can see, it's not a very large tractor at all. What makes it an Orchard is that these fenders right here, a branch of a tree will come up over this fender instead of hitting the tree or hitting the tire. So the fenders are designed to keep the branches from hitting the tires and breaking the branches, which is why this tractor here is called an Orchard tractor. So this is an old John Deere B Orchard. As you can see, you kind of sit hanging off the end of it. These are called Popping Johnnies. One of the most recognizable tractor companies in the world is John Deere. So as you can see right here, this is an old John Deere Model A. As you can see on the back, it says Joe Deere because my aunt's name is Jolene and it's my uncle's tractor, so it says Joe Deere. It's a 1970s John Deere 830. This is probably one of my most favorite tractors to drive. It has a tarp over it to keep water from getting on the seat because you don't want to sit down and have a wet butt. Also on the back has a post hole drill. This is a tractor that we use around the campground. As you can see, it's not a huge tractor, but it's still a pretty good sized tractor. It'll go about 20 miles an hour. When, you know, obviously you're not working in the field when you're going 20 miles an hour, but it, you know, it definitely allows you to get from point A to point B, do your work. These are some of the bigger tractors that we have here at the campground. This right here is a 1980s style Kubota. As you can see, it has a front end, or has a lift on the front, so there's a bucket. Right now it's being used to move a cabin. These will be newer cabins to go to the campground. So this is the same way we moved those cabins that were from the Underground Railroad. Here is another cabin that we're moving. And this is the Massey Ferguson. This is a 1960s style Massey Ferguson tractor. Pretty big tractor. So we've been talking about tractors, and I've showed you this before, but this is the Mackinac Monster. This is what I would call the monster truck. As you can see, I've already shown you how big it is before. It's a big truck. These trucks are designed to basically be a farm vehicle. They are designed to have big tires like this so that they float across the ground. They don't get stuck. They can move a lot of weight across soft farm fields. So the idea is you would put a giant tank on the back of this truck. It can either be a liquid tank, you spray fertilizer, or you spray some kind of chemical on your field, or water or whatever, or you can put a like a powder. You know, you have a powder chemical in there, and you have a just a bucket on the back of it. So this truck would allow you to carry large amounts of fertilizer out into your fields. So it's not quite a track.